Welcome back to MMA Sucka Fight fans. My name is Nate Freeman. I'm joined today by Mark Climaco, who is fighting in the first round of the Road to UFC tournament on Saturday, May 27th. Mark, how are you doing today?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Can't complain. So like I said, you're fighting in the Road to UFC tournament, season 2, and you're facing Jung Hyun Lee of South Korea in the opening round. I guess we'll just go ahead and start talking about what you see in him as an opponent, and how you see the fight going and all of that.
Yeah, I got a chance to take a look at some of his film. He seems like a good young prospect out of South Korea. Decent striking. I haven't seen much of him on the ground so far in the fights that I have watched. Um, I felt like it was pretty. There wasn't much footage that we were able to find, but overall, I think it's a tough opponent. I'm always looking at my next opponent to be the toughest opponent that I'm gonna face in my career. I always try to have that mindset going in. I can't look past anyone. So, I expect him to be my toughest opponent yet, but I've trained in that way as well. So I'm prepared for whatever he brings.
So from what I heard, you had the opportunity to potentially go several different routes after your win over Miguel Sanson a couple of months ago. Um, I had heard maybe rumblings of being added to the Contender Series, maybe an LFA title shot, and then this Road to UFC opportunity came up. So, talk to me about maybe why, out of all of those opportunities, you chose this one, and what excites you about this opportunity.
So yeah, we were looking at we were actually trying to reach out to get signed straight on to UFC. Javier reached out to McMaynard, and he came back to us, said that we can either do Contender Series or he also offered this Road to UFC tournament. And to me, when we looked at the options, Road to UFC seemed like the best option, being that I am Filipino. I was born in the U.S., but my family is from the Philippines, so I do have that background. And I felt like it was a good opportunity to get my name out there with the Asian market in the UFC, and being that because that is my background, I feel like that could be a good market to tap into and get my name out there with the Philippines and MMA and stuff like that, and just Asia overall. And also the way I looked at it is that it's a good opportunity for me to get. I like the fact that it's for sure. So, I win this tournament. There's no like if, ands, or buts. I get my contract 100%. Obviously, I feel like I could have got it with Dana White Contender Series as well, but you've seen good fighters have fights against other good fighters and they missed out on their opportunity. I've seen, teammates of mine unfortunately have that happen with them. So, for me, Road to UFC, the tournament seemed like the best option, especially that, I feel like I can get 3 fights of experience, extra 3 fights of experience under almost pretty much a UFC banner. So I get to get a feel for what it's like to fight with the UFC. Everything is ran by the UFC. So to me, it was the best case scenario. I get 3 fights of more experience. I get my name out there with the Asian market, and yeah, by the time I win this tournament and I make my official UFC debut, I feel like I'll feel pretty seasoned in fighting with the UFC.
That makes sense, and you keep it in your hands, all of the how you determine how you get to the UFC. It doesn't necessarily depend on Dana White's mood that night or something
Yeah.
like that. So it's all up to you, and if
Mhm.
you win fights, you get into the UFC. So
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense.
The direct route.
You mentioned wanting to tap into the Asian market, but specifically the Philippines market. And I know that they are a very supportive country in terms of combat sports, obviously with athletes like Manny Pacquiao. But
Mhm.
I know MMA fighters, even like Rolando D, Mark Striegel, and people like that are big names in the Philippines. So talk to me about maybe how you see yourself inserting your name into that conversation as well. And what does it mean to you to be representing the Philippines on an international stage?
So first of all, it's huge. It's very huge for me to represent the Philippines. Like I said, that's where both of my parents are from. So I'd love to represent, my background, my blood, where I'm from, where my heritage comes from, and it's huge. It's a huge opportunity, of course, to represent in the UFC. It's been a while since we've had a top. I think it's been a while since there's been a top Filipino fighter in the UFC, and like you said, I know that they'll back me, and I look forward to being the next big name to come out of the Philippines to represent and fight at the highest level.
So then another thing I was curious about is um, China's a long ways away. It's even from the western part of the United States. It's a 14 and a half, I believe, hour flight from San Jose to Shanghai, where the events are going to be held.
Mhm.
Um, is that the furthest, at least as an adult, that you've had to travel in general? Because I know that, or to my knowledge at least, your competitions have all been either in the USA or Mexico.
Yeah, it's the furthest I've had to travel for a fight. I mean, I have done an international flight back when and it's been a while, but I did go to the Philippines a few times as a kid. But yeah, this is the farthest I'll have to go for a fight, and it's a new experience. I expect there will be some challenges that come with it, but I'm ready to adjust no matter what. I'm prepared for whatever.
You mentioned that you haven't been to the Philippines as a kid. Um, is that something that you're planning on? Are you planning on visiting the Philippines maybe after the first round of competition, or um, that maybe that's not necessarily something that's on your mind right now, but maybe after the competition, you may
Maybe
think about that.
maybe after I win it. That's kind of a little idea I have in my head is after I win it because I figure all three fights will be in Asia. So hopefully after the finals, uh, Philippines is not too far from China. So hopefully we can do that after I win the tournament.
Do you find any sort of comfort in? Obviously, it's not the same facility, but you've done some training at the UFC PI in Las Vegas, and it's going to be at Shanghai PI.
Mhm.
Is there any sort of, you think, familiarity that you're going to feel with having sort of the similar facilities or anything like that?
Um, I don't really know what to expect from the Shanghai PI. I expect it to be similar. I've only been to the PI in Vegas like once. I got a chance to feel out the cage, see the size, and see what it's like. And but at the end of the day, I'm ready to fight anywhere, anytime, like no matter where the surface is. Like I really feel like I'm prepared for wherever the fight will be.
Absolutely. So changing gears a little bit, I know in one of my other things that I do is I work with USA Muay Thai.
Hmm.
And I know that your brother Sean
Yes.
competed in the World Games qualifiers last year, and he actually tore his ACL as
Hmm.
a part of that. So one of the things I was curious about was, and you tore your ACL in 2019, I believe.
Yeah.
Was there any sort of, I don't know, support or anything that you were able to provide, given that background for him? That may have helped in his journey because he's already back and won a fight or two.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that did. As unfortunate as it was that happened, I felt happy that okay, well, I've been through it and I can kind of guide him through the way. So I knew that I can kind of you know le- put him on the right path in terms of recovery and rehab, and not just physical rehab, but like also like mentally, because it's a mental challenge too to have to get injured like that and be out of the game for months at a time. It's like a 9 month recovery period. So it's rough on the mind as well as it is on the body. So super happy that, I was able to experience it for myself. So that way I can kind of help him out, tell him things that I felt like I had trouble with, things that I felt like worked well for me in my rehab, and just kind of guide him along the way. And yeah, it was great that I can be there for him in that way. And now he's doing his thing. He's back and he's better than ever.
You mentioned something that I found interesting just now. Um, you talked about the mental sort of struggles of dealing with an injury, especially such a major injury like that. And then I know that you've spoke about when you experienced your first loss that was really tough on you mentally as well. I'm curious how those two sort of compare. I feel, at least in my opinion, I would think that the loss is more strong, like it takes more of a toll in a short term,
Mhm.
but the lingering aspect of a long-term injury may sort of outweigh that. I'm curious to see your thoughts on how those two sort of compare on the mental side.
They were both challenging similarly and in different ways too. So like they're similar in that, I remember when I got when I got injured, it felt like I lost. Even though I didn't lose, it felt like I lost because I couldn't compete. I don't know when's the next time I'm gonna compete. Um and then losing a fight, obviously that, like you said, it is a bigger sting for sure, because now it's on my record. Now it matters. I lost when it mattered, when the stakes were at its highest. And but definitely I feel like the mental challenges that I went through in getting injured helped me deal with the mental challenges that I had to deal with after losing that fight. So, like, thankfully, all the experiences that I have in my life, they'll always, help me grow and help me prepare for other experiences that may come. Like, obviously life is not always going to be good, and there's good and bad that comes with everything. And I think that the negative experiences and the hard things that I had to deal with in the injury definitely helped me with that loss as well.
That makes sense. Jumping back to your family a little bit. Um, so I know that both you and Sean got started in martial arts around the same time.
Hmm.
Your first several competitions were in kickboxing and Muay Thai. But while Sean has kept on that path, you broke off into MMA. I'm curious because it seems to me like a lot of siblings in combat sports compete in the same combat sport.
Hmm.
So I'm curious um, where and maybe why that split occurred, just a difference in interests, or um, maybe sort of the reasoning behind that.
So we actually both started with like jujitsu, and it was at AKA in AKA Sunnyvale location. So we both started out with jujitsu and like a little bit of kickboxing and stuff like that. And then I remember once I started, I knew I loved MMA. I knew I loved to mix everything together. Like the what I love the most about it is that you can't there's always something to learn. There's always an area of your game that you have to sharpen, and that is also the case with Muay Thai and kickboxing as well. But I just love to do everything from the grappling to the feet, to striking to the wrestling, everything. I just fell in love with the variety that MMA brings. And then my brother, I remember when we first started training, he had taken a little bit of time off, and then once he got back in, he just started competing again in Muay Thai. And I guess just from there, he just fell in love with Muay Thai, and he just started to, do his thing over there. And you know, he's always been around with MMA. He's always thought about, maybe crossing over, but he found passion with Muay Thai. He found really what he's good at, and he's shining that now, and he's ready to make it to the big stage of his sport. So we're both at great points in our careers where we're a couple fights away from making it to the pinnacle of our sports.
And with that in mind, he is competing in June, I believe, in the Warriors Cup, in a tournament where the winner goes and competes in one championship. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, we're both on road to tournaments. He's on the road to one tournament to get his one contract, and I'm on the road to UFC tournament. So, it's a trip. I think that everything happens for a reason, and now God has put us in this position with this opportunity that we both have around the same time. To make our dreams happen. So we're planning on taking full advantage and capitalizing on the opportunity.
That's awesome. Let's go through just sort of several rapid fire questions that are not necessarily MMA related, so fans can get to know you a little bit better
Mhm.
personally. So these first couple are MMA related, though. What is your favorite striking technique?
Um, as a southpaw, I would definitely say my left kick. I love my left kick to the body, to the leg, to the head, and it helps set up everything. Just being a southpaw, I would say that the left kick is one of my favorite, but it's hard to say. I mean, exact to pinpoint exactly my favorite strike because every as long as my favorite one is the one that I can hurt my opponent with at the end of the day. So, and I know that I have a variety of different tools on my feet, and whichever one I can hurt my opponent with, that's my favorite one.
And I'm sure it's a similar sort of way on the ground, or at least in grappling. Maybe
Mhm.
your favorite grappling technique or position, or whatever.
It's pretty similar. I would say the same similar answer that I feel like I've done a pretty good job at this point of rounding out my skills in the grappling and in the striking. I don't think there's anything that I can't do in that cage. So at the end of the day, whatever I can find that can bring the fight closer to ending or ending the fight, that's what it's going to be my favorite. I really feel like my game is complete and there's nothing that I can't do.
Absolutely. So your favorite either book or movie or TV show?
Man, my favorite. I should read more. I don't read enough, but I would say my favorite movie is Apocalypto. Have you seen that movie?
No, I've never even heard of that. What is that?
Apocalypto. It's about it's set in the Mayans. It's about the Mayans. So it's a it's a pretty cool movie. I don't. It's hard to explain, but it's like really ancient times of them. You know, Mayan tribes and Mayan civilization, and them like having to fight against invaders and stuff like that. People that were invading their tribes and whatnot.
Interesting. Okay. And when did that come out? And is it on any streaming platforms or anything?
I don't know what where it can be watched, but I know it was came out in 2009.
Okay.
2009, Apocalypto. Yeah, I remember watching it when I was a kid, and it was super cool. But yeah, I'd say that either that or Enter the Dragon, uh, Bruce Lee movie. Yeah, that's probably either that or Enter the Dragon. Those are my two favorite.
Classic.
Yeah.
Um, I know that you've quoted a couple of Bob Marley lyrics in some of your Instagram posts, but I'm curious to hear maybe some more of your musical interests.
Man, I like any music. Like really, like I could jam to whatever. Obviously, I like reggae. It just really depends on my mood. I like rap. I like classical rock. If I had to pick one artist that's my favorite, it's probably Michael Jackson because I remember growing up listening to a lot of Michael Jackson. My parents were playing that. I remember dancing to it, uh, playing karaoke. Sorry, singing karaoke to it. So uh, probably Michael Jackson would be my favorite music artist.
You mentioned karaoke. What if you are going to a karaoke party, bar, whatever, and you are your friends peer pressure you into singing a song? What is the song that you choose?
Billie Jean.
All right, yeah, I like that. That's a
Yeah,
good one. That'll get the
yeah,
crowd going and
yeah.
maybe
I'll be
show.
I'll be singing, dancing. You'll get more than just singing from me. I'll be moving and grooving to that too.
Awesome. I love that. um, so once you finish either your weight cut or the competition's over or whatever, and you are just craving that one food, what is that one food that you're going for after every competition?
For me, it's usually pizza. Pizza, something nice and carby. Um, yeah, I don't know what will be out there in Shanghai for in terms of choices of pizza, but we'll probably have to switch it up and try some dumplings or something. From what I hear, the dumplings over there are the best. So I'll be looking for those post fight for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, pizza seems to be a really common answer with a lot of people that I talk with.
Yeah, you get deprived from it, for the last part of your training camp. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing like a nice pizza and a beer probably on the side after you win your fight.
Is there any particular toppings that you like to put on your pizza?
Um, I usually like just good old pepperoni or meat lover combo. I do like pineapple on my pizza.
That's what I was going to ask. Where do
Yeah,
you stand on that debate?
yeah, no, I like it a lot as long as it's fresh pineapple, not canned pineapple. It's got to be fresh.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I'm on that side too. I
It's
like
great.
pineapple on
I
pizza.
don't know
So
why people hate on it. It's amazing.
yeah, I don't get it. I know that one interesting thing is I spent some time in Hungary, and this may be a European thing overall, but that's the only place that I've been. But they like to put corn on their pizza, which is really
Really,
interesting.
yeah,
Um,
interesting.
but um, Okay, so your favorite combat sports athlete, and then if your favorite athlete overall is not your favorite combat sports athlete, who is your favorite athlete in
Mm.
all of sports?
Favorite combat sport athlete? It's got to be Manny Pacquiao. I mean, I grew up watching him. I was inspired by him and the great things that he did in the ring. Um, it's got to be Manny Pacquiao. I mean, there's so many combat athletes though that I've looked up to and been inspired by, but yeah, for sure, Manny Pacquiao. Uh, Outside of combat sports, I would say Kobe Bryant was one that I really looked up to. Big fan. Just that Mamba mentality too. So I try to always apply, the same mentality that he had with basketball to my own art.
Yeah, and it seems like, and from what I've heard, you really do apply that when it comes to um, both weigh-ins and competition, where you seem like a really chill guy right now, but
Mm-hmm.
that all just shuts off when it comes time to weigh in and compete.
100%, 100%. Yeah, once it's time to flip the switch, I flip the switch and it's time to go. I'm a killer when it comes time.
Absolutely. um I'm curious, you train at AKA, and
Mm.
with all of the changes, with all of the um I guess, elder statesmen of AKA retiring and all of that, like Daniel Cormier, Cain Velasquez, Khabib. Um, I'm curious how the dynamic in the gym has changed, and if that's had any effect on um, maybe your training specifically, or the just sort of, I don't know, the camaraderie of the gym or anything like that. Um, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So the gym, we're still thriving. We're working right now on building the next generation of guys coming up. You have guys that we've taken what we've learned from the guys that we have had at the gym that are successful, and we have those guys that are in there that were successful in there helping us now. Kane's in there pretty much daily. He's in there helping us out, coaching us. Our head coach Ron Kessler has always been around all those guys. He grew up training around those guys, so his whole career he was around seeing those guys train and seeing those guys get to the top. And then obviously Javier Mendez has seen it all with all those guys. So right now we're at a point where we're working on building that next generation of guys. And of course we also have Habib's guys that come in and iron sharpens iron. They come in, we get them better, they get us better. So, you know, even though those top guys have moved on and they've retired, we're well on our way to building the next generation of guys. And, you know, we're blessed to have good coaches and guys like Kane, Habib, like I said again, Javier and Ron Kessler, all of them to learn from. And you know, from their experience, their experience is where they're able to pass on to us and help us to get better and grow every day.
I mentioned USA Muay Thai earlier, so I got to give a shout out to Yanette Garcia, who trains at AKA, who's going to be making her MMA debut here on the 28th, I believe, the day after you. So just wanted to give her a shout out there too.
For sure. Yeah, shout out to Yanette. She's a beast.
Yeah. I enjoyed
Absolutely.
spending some time with her at the World Games and all of that. That was she's awesome. So before I let you go, I want to give you the floor on a couple different things. One, how can people follow you on social media? Two, I'll give you the floor to thank any sponsors, give any shout outs or anything like that.
So social media, you could just follow me on my Instagram at Mark Climaco, my full name, Mark Climaco. My Twitter, I made a Twitter. I don't use it that much, but I'm starting to a little bit more. It's at Marquis Climaco. So Markie Climaco. Someone, I don't know, someone out there has my name as their Twitter. And then Facebook, same thing, Mark Climaco. You can find me on there, follow me on there. And yeah, in terms of just shouting out, you know, I just like to thank all of my coaches, my whole team. You know, I've had a good camp. I'd like to thank all the coaches that have worked with me, that, you know, helped me prepare and push me to be the best that I can be every day. So thank you to my coaches and my teammates that, you know, helped me get to where I need to be to prepare for these fights. Thank you for the support that I get from my parents, my family, my brother, of course. My brother's always been with me, had my back. Thank you to my girlfriend. She's really helps me and supports me in every way when it comes to getting ready for my fights and just with my career overall. So just thank you to everyone that, you know, has my back and that supports me on my journey. You know, I don't feel like I never feel like I'm alone when it comes to, like, you know, getting ready for these fights. At the end of the day, yes, I'm going into that cage alone, but I'm bringing all the energy and all the support that I have with me, that, you know, everyone gives me with me into that cage, and I'm just thankful for all of that. And, you know, I'm can't wait to make everyone proud and prove everyone right.
This has been Mark Climaco. You can catch him competing on Saturday, May 27th in the opening round of the UFC Road to UFC, tournament, season 2 in the flyweight division. Mark, thank you so much for your time and best of luck in the tournament.
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate it.
Right. Thank you.